So I'm here to talk to you about what you need to know about clinical trials. But before I start, I wanted to see a show of hands. How many people present have actually been in a clinical trial? Okay. A few of you, but really more or less what I expected, a very few of you. Okay. So let's start by defining clinical trial. What is it? This is how the National Institute of Health defines it. Clinical trials are part of clinical research and are at the heart of medical advances. Clinical trials look at new ways to prevent, detect, and treat disease, and they do this by trying different drugs, different combination of drugs, new surgical procedures or devices, or new ways to use existing treatments. The goal, of course, is to test for their effectiveness, their safety, and if they actually work. And clinical trials can also look at other aspects of care, such as quality of life issues. And of course, the ultimate goal is to advance medicine and advance treatment of how we treat our patients. Now, why should you consider being in a clinical trial? Well, a healthy individual sometimes decide to volunteer because they want to contribute. They want to be a part of any advances in science. While patients, people who are ill, may choose to be a part of a clinical trial because they feel they'll have access to new treatment. And also, they may feel that they may get special treatment in some way because they'll be monitored more closely. There's always the sense of contributing, altruism, contributing to posterity. The fact that you may not yourself benefit directly from having participated in research, but that future generations will reap the rewards of what was learned from your participation. And then, of course, there's diversity is power. And this is especially important in a group like this, in that if we don't participate, and if we, a clinical trial that has participation from a diverse group of participants, meaning that it has African American women or people as participants, Hispanics, Asians, and whites, then any results that are reaped from, any conclusions that are reaped from that trial can be generalized to the greater population. How do clinical trials work? Okay. Clinical trials, basically, by the time a treatment becomes standard treatment, it has gone through many phases of testing and trying. It may take anywhere between 15 to 20 years for a treatment to actually become a treatment. At the beginning, it's the innovative stage, right? Let's see if I can work this. There we go, this area. That's the stage of innovation. That is when scientists in a laboratory have this concept or this idea, and they're toying around with different compounds. And those that seem promising will then be tested on animals, live beings, to see basically what they're looking for is toxicity. Are they safe? And are they effective? Are they getting at what they're hoping to get? Those that make it through, and it's estimated that only about 5 out of every 5,000 of these tests make it through to actually being tested on humans. So the next stage, or phase 1, would be actually introducing it to the human population. And it starts with a handful of people. A lot of times, it's healthy individuals who expose themselves to this compound, and what research is looking to do at that point is determine side effects and safety in terms of dosage levels. And that may go on for a few months, and then it enters what we call phase 2. More participants are recruited. At this point, you have up to 100 people actually receiving the new treatment. But at this point, what they look to do is actually look for comparisons. So the participants are sorted into at least two groups. The groups are called arms. And one arm will get the treatment. The other arm is called a control, and they may get a placebo. A placebo is something that mimics or looks similar to the treatment. It may be a sugar pill if it's a pill that looks exactly like the treatment. And many times, the sorting is blinded. What that means is that the individual, the participant, and their doctor actually doesn't know if they're getting the treatment or not. And the purpose of that is to see effectiveness and keeping objectivity. So if you think that you know you're getting a particular drug and you think you're doing well in it, and it turns out that you're actually getting the placebo, then it really wasn't the drug that was making you better. So that's why it's to compare to see if indeed a drug or a new treatment is working. Once it makes it through this phase, it goes into phase 3. Phase 3 now looks to compare the new treatment to the standard treatment. It may have one or two or more groups, and basically they're looking to see how well the new treatment compares. So is this treatment better than or equal to what's already out there? At this point, the new treatment is ready to be presented to the FDA for the Food and Drug Administration, who must approve it, and then goes on to phase 4, phase 4, where really at this point it's ready to be marketed. They're looking to do marketing and also looking at, in terms of the participants, long-term outcome. They're monitoring to see quality of life and how participants are doing long-term. So are clinical trials safe? I think that's really what's always in the back of our minds, why should I participate, maybe, and this is one place where we can point to that we have actually learned from our past mistakes and have worked towards addressing them. So back in the 60s and 70s, as studies like Tuskegee and others where there was improper design to their, there was improper design, scientists and government came together to set out guidelines of what proper research should be. And one of those reports, in 1978, the Belmont Report was written, and basically it set out standards and guidelines for proper research. And it's a very lengthy report, but there are 3 basic principles that come out of this, and that is respect for person, beneficence, and justice. So all research must address these 3 items, these 3 principles. Respect for person basically acknowledges that individuals are autonomous. They have a right and are able to decide for themselves. Beneficence, do no harm, meaning no research should be designed with a purpose in mind to do harm, and in fact should be designed to where the benefits outweigh the risks or potential harm. And justice, that any participant in a trial or research should be treated in a fair and equal manner. We then go into HIPAA. In 1996, the Health and Portability and Accountability Act was created to address issues of privacy and expectations of confidentiality. This basically binds all doctors, medical personnel, staff, and includes researchers to safeguard your private information, your confidential information. So as part of this, we have consenting. Consenting builds on respect for person. Basically, consenting is a process that should happen at the beginning when you are invited to be part of a trial or any type of research where you're provided with information on what this is about. And it gives you a specific information. Someone should sit with you and talk you through so that you're understanding it, that your questions are answered, and at the end, you may decide if to participate or not. And if so, you give your written consent. And then we have the Institutional Review Board, or the IRB. Every research institution has an IRB. And basically, it is a board that is, their sole responsibility is to monitor all research under that institution, to make sure and safeguard that all research is following the guidelines for federal, institutional, and ethical conduct. So what should you know before you join a clinical trial? First and foremost, research participation is voluntary. You should never feel coerced. You cannot participate in a trial or any form of research without first agreeing to be part of it. And that agreement and that sitting down should be with the person or the doctor that presents you with the opportunity, should lead into a lengthy discussion on what the implications are and what you should know. So know what your treatment options are. Basically, how does this new treatment fare in comparison to what exists in existence? Is it equal to or better for you? Understand what the benefits and risks are. Now, with that said, know that all treatment, including standard treatment, have some level of risk attached to them. So does this new treatment have risks that so do the benefits in this new treatment outweigh the risks for you? And what are those risks? Do you understand them? And lastly, what is expected of you as a trial participant? Now, this should be outlined in the consent. The consent are sometimes very lengthy documents, have a lot of information, but you should be able to find in there time, meaning what level of time commitment is required of you. You know, do you need to come in every day? Do you need to come in once a month? How long will you be considered to be on a trial? Is it a 1-year trial or duration of treatment, or is it 10 years out? That should be described in the consent. Requirements, meaning what do you need to do to remain in compliance with the study? Do you need to take a little pill every day? Do you need to show up at certain time intervals to the clinic? Do you need to complete a survey once a year? Withdrawing. How do you withdraw? If at some point you wish to withdraw from the trial, or the new treatment is found not to be effective for you, what happens? You should know from the onset if it is possible then to transfer into the standard treatment. Confidentiality. How will your information be stored? That should also be. Okay, now that you know all this, how do you get involved? Well, all trials focus on different populations and have guidelines as to who can participate. The very first place to begin should be your doctor. In the case of cancer, your oncologist. They would know what trials are open and you may be eligible for. Another place you could look is the NIH, the National Institute of Health, has a database that has registered, it's a national registry of all trials going on in the United States. And here I've also posted some of the trials that are currently open at Bellevue. And finally, I just wanted to share a couple of websites and sites where you could get more information on clinical trials. I wanted to point to the third one. The NYU OCT website also has a database where you can search to see what trials are open and available at NYU.